evening. I'm Dr. Oscar von Stein, professor of comparative literature with an emphasis on French 20th century home morality, specializing in characterizations of heating structures. It is a great honor to be with me today, and the esteemed Fred talks. Why, just this morning, I was about to watch some PBS when I received a call. Apparently there was a cancellation, and now here I stand before you, a beacon of knowledge. Now, what does Marcel Proust's writing mean for us when it comes to constructing a fireplace? I've scoured the master's work in search of answers. Ladies and gentlemen, I have found answers. In this first chart, we see... What is that? An Inconvenient. That's all right. That's not my chart. Excuse me, tech support. What's going on here? What is that? Where is my chart? Hello? Oh, what's going on now? I see you found the light switch. Can we continue? I don't know who they get to run these things. Well, I suppose a blank screen is better than whatever that was. Where were we? Hi, Oscar. Oh, what's this? What's going on now? It's me. Who? Oh, I get it. Very clever, Gerald. He's chair of my comp lit department. Fancies himself quite the clown. Well... Chart or no chart, let's get on with it now, please. These people came here to learn something important. This isn't Gerald, it's me. Well, who is me? The Puru. I'm coming here to do your talk? No! No! Delivered? Oh, absolutely not! And besides, it's Dr. Oscar von Stein, professor of comparative literature with... Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, there's clearly been some mistake, and I'm just going to... Just a moment. Hello? Hello? Everything's fine, I'm sure. Excuse me. Oh, what's going on here? You can't do this. You can't lock me in here and force me to talk about P-O-O-P. Oh, are we? Listen, you're just a screen. You can't tell me what to do. That's why they're here. They're not depraved maniacs. They're worshippers at the fiery altar of Proust. That's why you're here, right? For Proust. No. Oh, but certainly you didn't sacrifice your precious time for this. Did you? See, I stand corrected. Oh. Pick up. Oh. I'll be healed and go home. Fine. I am a professional. And seeing as you've all wasted your hard-earned incomes on this inane drivel, I will not disappoint. I will deliver this inconvenient... inconvenient... But let it stand for the record right here, right now, this is not a topic I have any experience with. Well, obviously I have some experience. Turn off your cell phones, please. Oh. Hello and welcome. What the fickle tempo? That's not my voice. How funny. My name is Shawn Shafner, and I am the Puru. God dang it! What's going on here? First you take over my slides, and now you want my body, too. Well, we'll see about that. I told you, Oscar. We're gonna do this together. Oh, this is ridiculous. I have a PhD, and you're just a Puru. What is that, anyway? What is a Puru, you may ask? Well, I don't know. I made it up. And this guy is more important than Proust because I sing, dance, and preach about poop. And when you're that guy who's always talking about poop, it sounds better to be the Puru than that weird poop guy. That is highly debatable. In the next hour, we're going to lift the lid and peer into the dark underside of American society in order to heal our relationship to our bodies, our earth, and all the people that we share this earth with. And there's just 5 easy steps. First, we'll whet the appetite and open up this taboo conversation. After that, we'll chew it over, understand why we feel the way we do about poop. Next, we'll break it down and discover how it got to be that way. Then, we'll absorb the issues and all of the problems that our current system creates. Finally, we'll release. And you'll learn your role in the poo revolution. Mostly in that order. How fun. Can't wait. Stop that! Oh, this is unacceptable! Oh, it's not me! You, at the controls, stop these horrid sound effects! Thank you. If my colleagues at the U ever got wind of this... That's not what I meant.
Unacceptable noises. Miss Manners does not plan to mention them, chiefly because they are unmentionable. But you all know who you are, what they are.
What's going on now?
Polite professors don't interrupt. At any rate, there are noises that are acknowledged by neither the noise maker nor the noise recipient because, socially, they do not exist.
In her 1979 bestseller, Miss Manners' Guide to Excruciatingly Correct Behavior, Judith Miss Manners Martin devotes an entire chapter to unpleasant facts of life, including disgusting habits such as cleaning the nose, perspiring, and noises you can make. Sounds like a perfectly sensible guidebook. Miss Manners has never mentioned bowel movements since she began writing about etiquette over 30 years ago. The act is so shameful and embarrassing in our culture that even to acknowledge its existence would soil Miss Manners. The polite policy of fecal denial posits that if we can keep poop from being seen, heard, smelled, and talked about, then we can make it disappear completely from public life. And that's what I call good breeding! Who wants to live in a world where it is always seen, heard, smelled, and talked about? Of course, no one wants to live in a world where poop is always seen, heard, smelled, and talked about. But compare Miss Manners' attitude to that of the Dutch priest and social critic Erasmus from his classic guide to etiquette on civility in children, 1530.
There are those who teach that the boy should retain wind by compressing the belly, yet it is not pleasing to contract an illness. If it is possible to withdraw, it should be done alone. But if not, in accordance with the ancient proverb, let a cough hide the sound. Or, following the advice of all doctors, to press your buttocks together, one should make sacrifices with the buttocks firmly pressed together.
That man is a priest? Oh. Ow! And a distinguished professor. Yet notice how Miss Manners holds it in, while Erasmus erupts with practical advice and sacred, if scented, stories. The Holy Father tells it like it is, unironically advising readers that
it is impolite to greet someone who is urinating or defecating.
Someone should have told my department head, Gerald. We can only assume that conversation used to be common around the commode, and that acts which had been unremarkable were now coming to be thought of as shameful, disgusting, embarrassing. Oh, the march of progress! It only took humanity a couple thousand years, but eventually we realized we don't have to behave like animals. For example, we can make pretty little note card stacks instead of throwing them all over the floor.
Civilized men today are clearly embarrassed by anything that reminds them too much of their animal origin.
Oh, well, of course Freud would say that. He probably wrote the book on fecal matters.
9. Only the forward.
Freud included these thoughts in the 1913 edition of John G. Bork's Scatologic Rights of All Nations, a dissertation upon the employment of excrementitious remedial agents in religion, therapeutics, divination, witchcraft, love filters, etc., in all parts of the globe.
Civilized men today are clearly embarrassed by anything that reminds them too much of their animal origin.
Oh.
They deny the very existence of this inconvenient trace of the earth by concealing it from one another and by withholding it from the attention and care which it might claim as an integrating component of their essential being. The cause would undoubtedly have been to admit its existence and to dignify it as much as its nature will allow.
It's excrement! There's nothing dignified about it! Isn't there? Let's face it. We are creatures of the earth. We take in food and water and the fruit of the soil. We make ourselves from it and pass it back out, transformed to become earth once more. You can't fool us with that spiritual background music. We all know how digestion works, and that waste spreads disease. Poop can be poison, and it can be power. It's trash and treasure, shit and the shit. It's the part of us that dies every day, the source of life that fertilizes fields. When we sneak shamefully into the water closet and soil that clean liquid, we create a world where waste and environmental degradation is inevitable. And if we can't talk about sanitary innovation, then we can't prevent over 2,000 people from dying every day of diseases caused by lack of access to safe toilets. Well, I didn't say I couldn't talk about it. I didn't know it was important. Well, right now, we begin to change all of that. At some point soon, you'll need to poop, and you'll need to poop, and you'll need to poop. And when that time comes, you can choose to flush it away without a second glance. Or you can embrace the reality of your body and its role in harmony with the earth, hold that turd up to the sun, and join your place in the cycle of life as it moves through us from start to finish. From dust to dust, that we're no path on the circle spiraling in the cycle of. I've never even heard that song before. Oh, it's awfully stuffy in here. Maybe if someone would unlock the doors? Yes, I hear you. Before we move on, let's review. While many things in this world are up for debate, we can all agree that Everyone poops. Though we generally pretend otherwise. How do you unsee something? This fecal denial may feel instinctual, but it's actually a learned set of behaviors. Consider the one social space prescribed for this function. Oh, you can't just put a photograph like that up in front of everyone! That gentleman's privacy is being violated! It's an odd sort of balancing act, isn't it? In order to maintain the fantasy, we're all doing our best not to see, hear, or breathe through our noses. And meanwhile, that guy's doing his damnedest not to do anything worth seeing, hearing, or smelling. How unsavory. That's why public utilities should only be for hand washing. Doing while denying is so uncomfortable that many people refuse to use public restrooms at all, which would be fine if we didn't poop. But yes, we know, everyone. This fecal denial is a systemic problem with real consequences. Remember middle school? Let's see a show of hands. How many people here refused to use one of these while at school? Don't answer that question! According to one study, almost 50% of middle schoolers abstain all day. I wonder who paid for that study. We don't need fancy numbers to tell us what we already know. Children are ruthlessly cruel. Why, when I was in elementary school, there was a boy who... Never mind, but the point is, no one wants to be Brendan Brown Pants. Brendan, what pants now? I said, never mind. Adults are just as scared to be caught making a stink. We're sneaking to a different floor of our office building, sending emails in the process to cover up our tracks. Some people even change their shoes so they can't be identified. Now, many people simply wait until they get home, but for those without an office or a home to go back to, it can be a very different story. Oh, find a Starbucks like everyone else. That's what they're there for. Certainly not the coffee. Why do we focus on feeding the needy and then disregard their dignity on the other end? Besides, the unhoused aren't the only ones who suffer from the fecal denial inherent in urban architecture. Fruit carts don't have utilities, nor do taxi cabs. Well, unless you count the plastic bottle. Or the drivers that I've seen hiding behind their car doors and using the streets. It's quite despicable. Drivers don't really have much of a choice. Taxi stands provide parking, but not toilets, which is problematic because we know that, and going on the go is a lot easier for men than women. Hence, less than 1% of our cab drivers are female. See, bathrooms are divided on gender lines, and if we can't talk about them, they become one place where gender inequality gets played out undisturbed. So gay or trans men can get beaten up for not being masculine enough in the men's room, and male architects build women's toilets with half as many utilities without considering how women actually use the spaces. Thus, the ubiquitous long lines. Well, I thought men were faster because we don't wash our hands. The House of Representatives didn't get a women's toilet near the chamber floor until, any guesses? 2011. In fact, the final frontier of gender equality may just be in the toilet. Consider the status quo, as described by real New Jersey housewife Melissa Gorgon.
Girls don't poop. Me. Never have, never will. It just doesn't happen. Well, that's what Joe thinks. We've been married for 9 years, and he has never once seen or smelled my business. How have I pulled this off? I don't do it when he's around or awake. In an emergency, I have my ways of pooping so he won't hear, smell, or see. It's a challenge.
Well, perhaps that is a bit extreme, but can you fault the woman for wanting to maintain some mystery? Just because we know that everyone poops doesn't mean we want to know that everyone poops. Look, no one is saying that we should take the stall doors down or move the toilet into the bedroom, unless that's your thing. But what would it mean for us to embrace our lover's full humanity? Not just the sexy body, but the whole body. The real body. The body that smells and farts and leaks and, poops every day without a need for secrecy. Oh, can we get some air in here? You're right, huh? School children should pee freely. Women should excrete with ease. And the men men and their lives should love them for it. Happy now? Shit may be our deepest shame. To love our shit is to love ourselves in radical new ways. It's radical, all right. And it won't happen overnight. As far as most Americans are concerned, poop is the dirtiest thing on earth. Most Americans? Well, there are plenty of other things that are gross, disgusting, or could make us sick. But poop holds a special place for anthropologists like Mary Douglas, for whom dirt is any matter that is out of place. What are you doing? Oh, obviously, you were raised by yaks. Anything that isn't where it belongs becomes disgusting, contaminating. Dirt. From her landmark 1966 study, Purity and Danger, an analysis of the concepts of pollution and taboo.
Dirt is essentially disorder. There is no such thing as absolute dirt. It exists in the eye of the beholder. Dirt offends against order. Eliminating it is not a negative movement, but a positive effort to organize the environment.
Exactly! It's just like Mother used to say, a place for everything, and everything in its place. Dirty little boys like you go to bed without dessert. But dirt is fluid and shifting. Let's use an example. The hair on your head. Well, that would be nice. Hair in your soup. Oh, disgusting! Well, that is matter out of place. And it's not like you could just take the hair out of the soup and then keep eating, right? Oh, absolutely not. Now, not only is the hair become dirty by being in the soup, but the soup has been contaminated by having a hair in it. William Ian Miller explains in The Anatomy of Disgust.
Disgust is organized by laws of sympathetic magic. A law of similarity holds that similarities in appearance mean deeper similarities in substance. And the law of contamination holds that once in contact, always in contact. Studies have proven people reluctant to eat chocolate shaped to look like dog feces.
Oh, well, obviously.
Or to drink a favorite beverage stirred by a brand new comb.
Oh, why bother stirring? Just shake it directly into your morning coffee. Delicious. Okay, but chocolate and hair products are only dirty when they're out of place. Most Americans deem poop dirty even when it's in place, when it's in the toilet or inside of our bodies. Well, maybe for once we should blame the matter. Now, I understand that hair in soup may just be a red hair egg, so to speak. Anyway, but feces actually does contaminate that which it touches. You're right, Oscar. What? Oh, you're right. The physical matter itself is contaminating. It can cause disease, and it does need to be relegated to a specific place. No one here is saying that we should just poop in any old bucket. Oh. But not only do we control the substance, we censor the words that refer to it. Can you think of anything else that's so dangerous we confront it by avoiding it? Bees? I happen to know an apt Roland Barthes quote. When written...
Then sheet does not smell.
Oh, I see you're also a fan of Monsieur Barthes. Well, I may not have a PhD, but I am a Puru. Oh.
Yet we are incarnate beings, for whom feces is part of life, and there are occasions on which we have no choice but to confer on what to do with it.
Harvard linguist Steven Pinker, in his 2007 bestseller, The Stuff of Thought, explains how we avoid lingual fecal contamination.
The solution is to divide the linguistic labor between euphemisms, which refer to an entity without evoking the unwanted emotions, and dysphemisms, including taboo words, for those rhetorical occasions on which we want to rub in how truly awful the entity is.
Ah, yes, like how I wouldn't say that Gerald, my department head, is a piece of stool. No, I would say that he's a giant turd.
When it comes to the taboo, The English language has gone overboard with specialization and fails to provide us with neutral terms for casual conversation.
Without neutral terms for casual conversation, it becomes difficult to deal with even our immediate practical needs. Americans generally ask for the restroom or the bathroom, but we're generally not in need of a place to rest or to bathe. Europeans, on the other hand, plainly ask for the toilet.
And that's why they can't have nice things.
Even companies that make poop-related products would rather avoid the subject and the sympathetic contamination. Let's be clear here, people. The only bears using toilet paper live in Chelsea.
That's advertising! They'd much rather you sit there and think about the soft cotton or white clouds than... Touché.
Let's have a little fun with the fact that shit comes out of our butts, and we want it to be gone.
What you really want is a shower, or at least a moist towelette.
There are better ways for achieving sanitary hygiene. Over 2/3 of Japanese households now have one of these.
A drinking fountain toilet?
This washlet toilet is the ultimate in anal pampering. Its sensors know whether to lift the heated seat up or down. At the touch of a button, the bidet wand extends to clean front or back. It can emit a forceful or more gentle stream, oscillate, change temperature, and blow dry your buttocks for a clean finish. It's yours.
Oh my! That sounds amazingly uncomfortable. Yes, warm water on my buttock sounds not relaxing at all.
We reject the bidet on the basis of our prejudices against its supposed sexual connotations.
We? Who's this we you're talking about? I never would consider that.
In 1966, Cornell professor of architecture Alexander Kira published The Bathroom, a thorough examination of how sinks, showers, and toilets might be better designed to serve our needs.
It would not matter if we otherwise observed and practiced proper hygiene with respect to this part of the body. The blunt fact is that we do not. In one study from Cambridge, England, some 44% revealed fecal contamination of their underpants, or trousers, in the case of those who wore no underpants, ranging from, quote, wasp-colored staining to, quote, frank, massive feces.
Oh, how shocking! Obviously brutes of poor breeding.
There was virtually no difference in the percentage so contaminated between white-collared, artisan, or laboring class workers. Furthermore, author J.A. Cameron notes that, under the circumstances in which this survey was conducted, it could be safely presumed that almost all the men concerned would have known that medical examination was to be expected. From this, it may be inferred that a surprise inspection might reveal an even higher proportion of contamination than already shown. It concludes by observing that many are prepared to complain about a tomato sauce stain on a restaurant tablecloth, while they luxuriate on a plush seat in their fecally stained pants.
Can you imagine? If this study still held true today, that would mean that half the gentlemen sitting here right now.
It's awfully dry in here. Is anyone feeling thirsty? A little water might do us all some good. Not to mention a little more frank conversation. As the Puru said, if we can't talk about it, then we can't find better ways to keep our underpants clean. Or trousers, in the case of those who wear no underpants.
The warm, squishy truth is that poop has always been gross. Even this picture is gross, and it doesn't smell.
That clip art sure does.
But for much of human history, we weren't ashamed of our gross domestic product. Now, you may think that this shifted as the result of some bad fruit, that we have a primordial sense of what's good and bad, clean and dirty, and the appropriate positive and negative feelings for each. But anyone who has kids knows that's not the case. Oh, sweet Jesus! Yeah, that girl likes pudding. It's just pudding. It actually took Western civilization over 1,000 years to adopt our current standards for clean and dirty. The definitive parental tome, Dr. Spock's Baby and Child Care, explains how this entire process has now been condensed into the magical time we call potty training.
You may think of this shift as primarily meaning no more soiled diapers, but the preference for cleanliness that a child gains at around 2 years means a lot more than that. It's actually the foundation for a lifelong preference for unsticky hands, for clean clothes, etc. It's from their toilet training that children get some of their feeling that one way of doing things is right and another way is not.
First of all, really glad to learn that was pudding. But there must be some standards for clean and dirty. Take it away and we'll be pooping in buckets.
No, we're not talking about pooping in buckets. That's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is an understanding of the many ways that people have pooped over time. And that the acknowledgement that it hasn't been a straight line from bad to good or from dirty to clean. There's much that we can learn from past generations about how to deal with poop in ways that appeal to our aesthetics, keep us safe, and don't invoke shame. Listen. You're right. No one understands the value of learning as much as I, but some things are not meant to change. Now, when I was in elementary school, there was a boy, my little friend Brendan, who flatulated during an assembly in front of the entire school, and little came out. That was it! Brendan Brown Pants for the rest of his life! And there's a reason that we call it an accident. Just imagine the alternative. We would applaud him, and then soon everyone would do the same, and our entire society would be upended. No pun intended. This fecal denial, as you call it, keeps us safe, healthy, and makes for a much more pleasant-smelling world. Whatever happened to your little friend, Brendan? We teased him until he switched schools. Humanity. I think we have a problem. There's a better way. Oscar, for Brendan and for all of us. Just imagine. We've just been introduced. I only know your name, but then your butt cheeks parted and a loud fart slipped outside. Well, every boy and girl makes gas that needs to pass. It makes me hope someday we could embrace what's inside. Let's talk shit. No. Let's see how it used to be. Let's look at slides. I don't know. Let's talk shit. Shame is not the only option. No, there's pride. Or a chance. When the kids have teased you till you want to die. Oh, but why will you still speak so boldly and deserve your mother's scolding and be outcast, a real misfit? Or have faith and understanding that the opposite can happen? Let's talk shit! Let's talk shit! Let's talk shit! Fine, just don't make me sing anymore! Once upon a time, when people roamed free, this was their toilet. We slept in the dirt, made our homes in caves and trees, and ran from the things with sharp teeth. Or we killed them, cooked them, and ate them. In fact, the oldest Neanderthal toilet to date, being excavated here in Spain, appears to have been in the same fire pit where they cooked their meat. Oh, I guess they never heard that phrase. Don't shit where you eat. It's also a very public spot. We don't have any understanding that they felt shame or had much of a system. They'd be moving on soon enough. But once people began building permanent settlements, they had to figure out what to do with all their dew, not to mention their newly domesticated animals' poop, which enabled them to start cities in the first place. I remember reading this in Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel.
As any modern gardener or farmer still knows by experience, crop yields can be greatly increased by manure applied as fertilizer.
That's just what I was
The
going
major
to...
source of crop fertilizer today in most societies is still animal manure, especially of cows,
Exactly.
but also of yaks and sheep.
Manure has always been a big part of life for farmers. Thus, the pitchfork, the iconic shit shovel.
Aren't we getting ahead of ourselves here? How did we go from Neanderthal toilets to early 20th century art?
Like I said before, it's not exactly a straight line. Once a permanent settlement has been established, the type of toileting system varies greatly depending on your population density and social interdependence. Our attitudes towards the body and our bodily fluids, our thresholds of disgust and embarrassment, and our access to and awareness of toileting technologies.
Allow me to rephrase this for our Poop 101 pupils. How many of us have to live here? And must I care if my shit bothers you? Is the body and its fluids good or bad? And when? How easily are we grossed out? And what kinds of toilets are available?
Oh, nice work, Oscar. You know, in order to find evidence of a society as excrementally embarrassed as our own, we have to go back over 2,000 years to ancient Persia. In the 4th century BCE, Xenophon wrote the Cyropedia, a history of King Cyrus's childhood in Persia. It says of their culture,
It is yet unbecoming among them to spit, or to blow the nose, or to appear troubled with flatulency. It is unbecoming for anyone to be seen going aside to make water, or for any similar cause. And to these habits they could not possibly adhere unless they used a very temperate diet and exhausted their moisture by exercise, so that it may pass off some other way.
So, what? They avoided wet foods and tried to sweat their pee out? Brings me back to the 8th grade.
at around the same time, another Greek writer was boldly going where no playwright had gone before.
Oh, Aristophanes, of the ancient world's Beavis and Butthead.
Take this scene from the Ecclesiazusae, or Women in Power. After watching the government be run into the ground by men, can you imagine that? The Senate wives decide to steal their husbands' cloaks, put on false beards, and take matters into their own hands. This scene finds the senator, Blapurus, out on the street, constipated after his wife has stolen his clothes.
But where, oh where, can I find a spot to shit? Not here. It's a bit public. I don't know, though. It's dark. Who's to see? Now some pear keeps blocking my food. Oh, by Dionysus. It's certainly clogging me up. Well, what am I gonna do? It isn't just my present discomfort, but when I eat again, I don't know how my shit will find an exit. But now this man from Pearville has bolted the back door. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, is there a doctor in the house? Or a plumber, perhaps? What about the poof? Emmett. He knows his way around back passages. Oh, God is a childbirth. Alethea, please don't let me burst. Don't keep me bolted up. I don't want to become a comic chamber pot.
But it is just that, a comic piece of theater. Surely it doesn't reflect the citizens' actual toilet habits.
Generally, Greek citizens preferred private spaces set aside for their business, which is why, when the philosopher Diogenes wanted to remind aristocrats of their inherent animality, he defecated in the theater.
Don't get any ideas, folks.
Now remember, their Persian neighbors couldn't even reference the act. Meanwhile, the Greeks and later Romans spent their days languishing at the bathhouse, nude. There you could oil up Soak in the warm pools, inhale some steam vapors, and when nature called, visit the communal toilet. The communal? Oh, my word. Now, these ruins from the Roman Empire's Turkish branch, they may not look like much, but just imagine this place overflowing with decadent fountains, delicate frescoes, and all of your friends and neighbors squatting over one of those holes. There you could sit for hours, shoot the shit, and share the vinegar-soaked toilet paper.
I don't even share my library card.
Well, for most of human history, the general rule of thumb for anal cleansing has been grab whatever's close, disposable, and won't hurt too much. In the prairie, try grass. On the beach, grab a seashell. In a blizzard, use snow.
But of all arsewisps, bomb fathers, tail napkins, bung old cleansers, and wiped breeches, there is none in the world comparable to the neck of a goose. That is well down. If you hold her head betwixt your legs, and believe me therein upon mine honor, for you will thereby feel in your knockhole a most wonderful both in regard to the softness of the said down and of the temperate heat of the goose.
I know that bit. That's Gargantua and Pantagruel by Francois Rabelais, renowned French 16th century author. But Pantagruel is again a work of fiction. A gooseneck is too far, even for the French. Surely all of those wiping accoutrements are better than that communal vinegar sponge. That's not sanitary.
Ironically, the word sanitary comes from the Latin sanitas. See, Romans prioritized health and cleanliness with the creation of aqueducts, sewers, and public baths. These works were so important to them that the Cloaca Maxima, the great sewer that ran through the city center, even had its own goddess, Cloacina.
Well, she's surprisingly pleasant looking.
Well, she was modeled after Venus.
Of course, because nothing says love like a long brown canal.
When the Christian Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 AD, these indulgent sanitary works were the first to go. Without sewers, poop was everywhere, which bred disease and death,
Hence the dawn of the Dark Ages.
and that helped bring about the fall of Rome. See, the early Christians believed that sewers and aqueducts were indulgent, that we should focus more on the afterlife than on our current circumstances. As Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, Mr. Pointyfinger up there, wrote in the 12th century,
"The human being is nothing but fetid sperm, a bag of manure."
or this slightly gentler instruction from a popular 15th century devotional, The Imitation of Christ.
He is truly wise that counteth all earthly things as dung, that he may win Christ.
Holy shit.
It was a tough time. Ale was safer to drink than water. People lived in crowded quarters, close to animals. They owned one pair of clothes that they wore until they couldn't, and bathing was reserved for the sick. But on the plus side, people felt connected to one another in a way that feels completely foreign to, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just need to, there you go, to us now.
Oh, it's easy to feel connected to your neighbor when you both have fleas.
It was a time before plastic, when everything still felt connected to the earth, and the boundaries between self, other, and environment were more flexible.
No more singing! Hippie!
Fair, that's fair. You know, at this time, if you stopped at an inn, you would eat meat with your hands from the communal pot, and you would share the bed with a stranger, or strangers.
Well, that sounds disgusting and strangely romantic. But surely there must be some distinction between the common traveler and royalty.
Even kings and queens shared one cup for wine with their guests. And while they weren't quite Roman bathhouses, the gaudy robe often had multiple seats and emptied directly into the moat below. There, you could poop order servants about, and increase castle security, all at the same time.
Talk about multitasking. You could relieve half your staff.
Yet at least one servant was right up in that business. From the 1500s to the 1800s, the British king's closest friend and ally was the royal butt wiper.
No! The technical title was Groom of the King's Clothes Stool.
This artisanal clothes stool from the Hampton Court collection, circa 1650, gives your royal ass a plush satin landing seat, a generous hole through which to fill your coffers, and fine brass hinges to close and lock the commode for easy transportation. The groom was not only bride to the royal buttocks, but privy to the most guarded secrets of the monarchy.
Well, it may have been a compliment to the wiper, but quite degrading to the king, no?
Well, people still believed that the monarch descended from heaven. They believed in witches and devils. Oh, Martin Luther, the 16th century priest and theologian, wrote about seeing the devil while constipated and straining on the toilet. He wanted to poop in his trousers so he could hang Beelzebub in his poopy pants.
No! Yes!
Oh yeah, the fecal exploits of Martin Luther could be their own Fred talk. It's pretty clear that the inspiration for his 95 Theses, and thus the Protestant Reformation, came to him when his constipated bowels finally gave way!
Oh, more like 95 feces. Am I right? Am I right?
Martin Luther's excremental antidote for the devil makes perfect sense. In a time when poop, both animal and human, was a regular part of witches' spells, magic potions, even medicine.
Thank God that's well in the past.
Sort of. Christian Paulini's compendium from 1696, Dreck Apotheke, which means poop or filth pharmacy, was still referenced into the 19th century. The belief was that good shit could cure bad shit.
Oh, like that sympathetic magic that we heard about earlier.
Thus, Martin Luther's poop could snuff out the evil Mephistopheles, and the Buddha's poop could cure anything. Ironically, modern science is now rediscovering this magic in the form of a fecal transplant, where the bacteria from a healthy person's gut can repopulate that of a sick person.
That's true. I read about it in the New York Times. But aren't we getting ahead of ourselves? How did we go from poop prescriptions to shameful shitting?
The impulse to hide our poop and deny our animality grew slowly through the Middle Ages, and reached its zenith under this lady.
Oh, I had this same portrait hanging in my college dormitory. Queen Victoria.
Victorian subjects were obsessed with creating beauty, cleanliness, and order from what had been a messy and grotesque reality. So the bourgeois created a new ideal, that the upper class body didn't leak, or smell, or snot, or barf, or poop.
Deja vu. That sounds just like Miss Manners.
So, to avoid all shame, bodily acts became completely private. To behave otherwise would mark you as poor and unrefined.
And now we're looking at a punch bowl.
That's a Victorian-era flush toilet. The modern WC was invented in 1596, but it failed to catch on because it required a steady supply of water. Back then, people simply weren't bothered enough to go through all that trouble.
But once the Victorians could get piped water right into their homes, of course they embraced the flush toilet. It's a perfect shitstorm.
Just withdraw into private quarters, drop the kids off at the smell-suppressing pool, flush, and forget. But with all that flushing, backyard privies and cesspools overflowed before the manure man could take it away. The satirical Punch magazine may have said it best.
This is the price that we pay to wink at the vested interests that fill to the brink the network of sewer from cesspool and sink that feed the fish that float in the inky stream of the Thames with its scent or stink that supplies the water that John drinks.
That was in 1849. Dirty water continued to cause epidemics of cholera, typhus, yellow fever, and more until some very hot weather produced the Great Stink of 1858. Only then did Parliament move to create a sanitary system. Well, it's good to know that politicians never change. Now let's be clear. The toilet may be the most important medical intervention of the last 150 years. It has saved countless lives. But with the flush toilet came this shameful, bourgeois understanding of the body, and a system that makes waste a foregone conclusion. But isn't that the point of the last 48 minutes? Everybody poops! Yes, everybody is a pooper, a creator, a producer, a contributor to that cycle of life. But in a consumer culture, we obsess over what comes in. Our bodies become all mouths, hands, and eyes. Celebrating food, glorifying shopping, gobbling up media. It's as if we've been tricked into thinking that the more we consume, the happier we'll be. Now that's not fair. We're just a cog in a much larger machine. And besides, Americans are getting much smarter about what we buy. I get my quinoa from Whole Foods. That's great, Oscar. It's great that we're thinking more about where our food comes from and how our products were made, but it's only half the equation. And we can't buy our way to a sustainable planet. Right now, 99% of what Americans consume becomes trash within 6 months. That shit's just flowing out of us. And just like our shit, this consumer diarrhea disappears to a vague somewhere else. Meanwhile, we're clutching on to the other 1% so that it sits there clogging our basements. Oh, consumer constipation! Like on hoarders. But now we're just talking about metaphoric shit. What does all of this have to do with shit? I mean poop. Well, this imbalance between consumption and creation ripples through our collective body. But it's mirrored inside each one of us. It begins with the false perception that we are a straight line through which resources enter and waste exits. Oh no, is this going to be like that show about Apple that made us all feel guilty for having iPhones? Because listen, I couldn't stop using my phone, and I'm definitely not going to stop using the toilet. There are some things it's better not to know. It's not always easy to face our shit. It's ugly. It stinks. It's full of corn. But you know what's worse? Hiding and choosing not to see. Your shit doesn't magically disappear, Oscar. It just becomes someone else's problem. Now it's time that we stop flushing and forgetting, and you start taking responsibility for your shit. Our toilets consume more water than any other household appliance. Meanwhile, drought ravages the western coast, and half of the global population will be water scarce in 15 years. That water is then pumped through countless miles of pipes, old, leaky, lead-leaching pipes that bring our poop to a place like this. New York City's largest wastewater treatment plant, handling an average of 1.2 billion gallons of sewage a day. On the plus side, this ultra-modern operation effectively separates the water from the poop, produces organic fertilizer, and generates natural gas to power local homes. That's good. On the downside, the water that flows into this plant is filled with chemicals from our soaps, shampoos, pharmaceuticals. Now, some of these toxins are neutralized at the plant by adding more chemicals. Many more flow back out into our rivers and streams. There, the estrogen from birth control causes frogs to have both male and female parts. And Prozac causes shrimp to swim to the surface and get eaten before their natural life cycle. That's bad. And because it was all mixed together in the sewer system, these same toxins and heavy metals may be found in the fertilizer. Now, some plants have the technology to clean, and they produce a great product with high market value. That's good, but others can barely give their manure away. There were even some cases where farmers and their families got sick just from breathing the fumes. That's bad. And even though this plant generates natural gas to power local homes, that's good. It's also one of the top 3 energy consumers in New York City. And it's only one of the 14 plants that it takes to process all of our sewage. That's bad. Well, it's complicated. It's confusing. But you know what? All of this could be avoided if we just didn't put the poop in the water to begin with.
Well, listen, the shit's been shat. There's nothing we can do about that.
Well, we don't have to use flush toilets.
So we are talking about poop in a bucket!
No, what we are talking about are odor-free composting toilets that turn poop into soil and look exactly like what you already have, just without all that bad stuff.
Oh, I see. It's a fancy bucket.
For those not quite ready to trade a splash for the plop, there are alternative options, like gray water systems that use sink and shower water to flush our toilets, or even passive permaculture systems like this living building that use gravel to screen and clean the water, and then fertilize plants and feed fish with the poop. You know, there was actually a brief time when the Victorians considered the humble composting toilet. Starting over is not an option for us, but there are all those people who still don't have toilets, people who are dying of the same diseases that were killing us in the 1800s. 4 out of every 10 people in the world lacks access to a safe toilet. Now, we often hear about these people as not having access to clean water,
but dirty water is just a euphemism for water with poop in it. A poofamism. And if there's one thing we've learned, it's that poofamisms only cover up a problem. They don't make it go away. We can only do that through bringing our shit out into the open, acknowledging it, and taking action.
We know that every dollar invested in sanitation brings up to $24 back into the community. That's money that is made when people are employed building and selling toilets or processing poop into fertilizer and methane gas to sell. Money that isn't lost when a mother has to take off work to care for a child or pay for medicine or for a funeral.
I know, I was down on all this inconvenient poop stuff at the beginning for being immature, but maybe that's where we have to start. After all, you can't tackle diarrheal disease or wastewater treatment or even shameful shitting until you can handle a fart joke. Obviously, none of these problems are going away today, but that was me. Yes, that was me. I farted. And you know what? I feel better. In fact, I feel amazing. I've been holding that in since we started. But now I see. My body is beautiful, inside and out. This one's for you, Brendan. You see that? Now I'm part of the solution. Yes. That could be me, pooping in this bucket right here. Right, Puru? Puru? Oh. Hi, Oscar, it's me. I haven't left you all by yourself on this stage in front of all these people talking about poop. But you have. I'm all alone and I don't know what to do. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go. Not to the bathroom. I mean, I just have to go. It's over. I've got through the cards. Open the doors. Let's all go home. What's this? Dear Oscar, I'm so proud of you. You have proven that truly you are the shit. And you are the Puru. I'm the Puru. I'm the Puru! Oh, I knew it! It's been me all along! I would like to thank my parents, and Brendan, wherever you are, Gerald, my department head, the divine Miss Bette Midler, who's coming to mind for some reason, and...
Damn it, Oscar! Keep reading.
However, you are not the only Puru. Look around you. See, these people, they too are Purus. It's been inside of you, and her, and him, and even him, all along. Anyone who chooses to wrestle with their shit and take responsibility for their creation is a Puru. Look inside yourselves. Go ahead. Close your eyes. Look inside. I won't mess with anybody. I'll stay on stage. I'm out of pencils. See? So, as you feel your body breathe in, notice your mouth and your teeth and your lips and your tongue. Know that we are consumers by nature. And as you breathe out, notice that flow down your esophagus, into your stomach, wind through 22 feet of small intestine, and one large colon that ascends, traverses, and descends around your belly. Know that we are creators by nature. But some of these muscles of production might be a little weak, so go ahead, open your eyes. Let's do a little exercise. Like a little squeeze, like you're stopping your pee midstream. A little Kegel. Are you doing it? I'm doing it. Yeah, let's see if we can do it together. Follow my hand. Okay, ready? Here we go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. That was great. Yeah. Super poopers. And now, go ahead, look around you. Go ahead. All these hotties in the house tonight. Yeah, all these people who were kegling with you just now, they're poopers too. And when you leave here today, and all the people you run into on the street, or at the farmer's market, or at Thanksgiving dinner, poopers, all of them. No one should be stuck in the water closet. They might flush and forget, but you can take responsibility for your shit. They might think that poop talk is for kids, but you know it can save kids' lives. They might be shackled in shame, but you know that bathrooms are for farting, and peeing, and pooping. So let's make that the norm. Okay, I'm talking cultural revolution from the bottom up. I need your help to lift the lid. So the next time you're in the bathroom and someone else comes in, don't hold back. Fart with fury, pee with passion, and poop with pride. That's what they're for. Most importantly, keep talking shit. Because the only way to get this conversation moving is for you to continue the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen and everybody in between, the poo revolution starts with you. There's a rumbling underground. There's a wind. It blows through the air. Revolution that's moving in us. We can change if we dare. I won't be silent any longer. We can't flush away our truth. We can't hold back what's inside us. I'm a pooper. Yes, it's true. I've got large pores. I've got nose hairs that stick out. Can you see them? Yes, they do. That's a body. I'm a person. I'm a pooper. Yes, I do. You might be short or black or a Red Sox fan, and we've all of us been misunderstood. But there's one thing that we can agree on. We're all poopers. Yes, we do. All the times that I've wrestled with my reflection in the glass, I'm through pretending that I'm perfect. Wait, I'll rip one from my ass. From my ass. I'm a pooper. Yes, it's true. I'm a pooper. Yes, we do. I'm a pooper. Yes, it's true. There we go. I'm a pooper. Yes, we do. I'm a pooper. Yes, it's true. I'm a pooper. Yes, we do. I'm a pooper. Yes, it's true. I'm a pooper. Yes, we do. All right, take one. Keep those moving around. Brothers and sisters, we are all poopers here. No matter your race, creed, color, gender, or ability, the Puru is inside us all. Now I know some of us have suffered. We've been ashamed of our true selves, but the second that we start talking shit, we begin to solve all the problems that we heard about today. The minute you stand up and say, I'm a pooper, we create a culture where change is possible. That time has come. Are you ready? Do you have a body?
Yeah.
Does that body consume?
Yeah.
Does that body poop?
Yeah.
So stand up, clap along, let's sing. Ready? Here we go. I'm a pooper.